For centuries, humanity had looked to the stars with wonder, driven by an insatiable curiosity and an unyielding drive to explore. They had ventured far beyond their humble beginnings on Earth, reaching out into the cosmos, making their mark on the solar system and beyond. But as they expanded, they encountered other races, alien civilizations far older and more advanced than their own. At first, these races had watched humanity's progress with curiosity. Then, as humanity's reach grew, the alien races began to take notice. They saw the boldness in the human spirit, the refusal to be contained by their fragile biology and limited technology. They saw a species that had risen from a chaotic past to become a force that could reshape the stars. But they also saw something that filled them with concern. Humanity was ambitious, relentless, and most dangerous of all, unpredictable. A coalition of the galaxy's most powerful and ancient civilizations, including the Aetheri, a race of telepathic beings that had mastered the manipulation of energy itself, the Zarvik, a species of multi-limbed creatures capable of bending time, and the Cylon, a hive-minded race of organic machines, decided to convene. They agreed that humanity, despite their potential, had shown a consistent pattern of rash, impulsive decisions that endangered the balance of the galaxy. There was no place for such recklessness among the stars. They made a decision. Humanity, in their eyes, was unworthy of space travel. They had not earned their place among the cosmic powers of the universe. Their wars, their tendency toward violence, and their ever-expanding thirst for conquest made them too dangerous. They could not be allowed to continue their exploration or expansion into the galaxy. The coalition sent emissaries to Earth with a simple message: the stars were never yours. Humanity, of course, disagreed. The human response was swift and defiant. They had always been a species that thrived on overcoming challenges, on facing adversity with a sense of unity and tenacity that was unmatched. No alien race, no matter how powerful, could dictate their future. The coalition might have the technology, the knowledge, and the age, but humanity had something they didn't: an indomitable spirit. The message to the galaxy was clear: humanity would not be controlled. They would not be held back. And if the galaxy wasn't ready for humanity's presence, then humanity would make it clear they weren't going anywhere. Humanity's ships, once relegated to their home system and distant colonies, began to move outward, not in fear, but in defiance. They understood the stakes. The alien coalition had the power to cripple them, to annihilate their fleets, to wipe them out in an instant. But humanity's message wasn't about power, it was about principle. They would not be silenced, not now, not ever. The war that followed was not one of traditional battles. The coalition didn't wage war in the way humanity would have expected. They didn't need to, their superiority was far too vast for that. Instead, they tried to stifle humanity's progress. The alien empires imposed sanctions, disrupted supply chains, and cut off humanity's access to advanced technologies they had once relied upon. They attempted to isolate Earth from the greater galactic community, to make them feel small and insignificant. But humanity adapted. What the aliens underestimated was humanity's ingenuity. With each blow they struck, humanity found new ways to fight back, new ways to survive. They didn't have the centuries of experience or the vast resources of the coalition races, but they had something the coalition couldn't comprehend: the will to keep going, no matter the cost. The human spirit had never been defeated by a lack of resources or advanced technology. It had always been fueled by a desire to learn, to grow, and to never, ever give up. Humanity turned to their colonies for support, uniting them in a way no one had ever expected. The cities on Mars, the mining colonies on Europa, the research outposts on Titan all became part of a greater cause. They didn't need the approval of the galaxy's rulers. They needed each other. And they would find a way to push forward, together. Using ingenuity and resourcefulness, they began to reverse engineer some of the alien technology they had captured from their previous skirmishes. They learned how to adapt it to their needs, building fleets that were more agile and versatile than any of the coalition's ponderous warships. They forged new weapons that made use of their greatest strength: human adaptability. The coalition races had long ago perfected their technologies, their minds and cultures becoming rigid with age. But humanity, with its ever-changing ways, had a flexibility that allowed them to face the challenges thrown at them with quick thinking and resilience. As the conflict escalated, it became clear that this wasn't just about space. It was about something far more profound. The galaxy, for all its ancient power, had never faced a species like humanity. While the coalition races relied on their age-old wisdom and mastery over time and energy, humanity relied on something far less tangible: its boundless hunger for freedom, its drive to carve out a place in the stars, and the raw, unfiltered will to never give in. The war was not fought with sheer firepower, though humanity's ships grew stronger and their tactics more refined. It was fought with ideas, with philosophy, with a sense of purpose that burned brighter than any star. Humanity would not be denied their place in the universe, no matter how many empires tried to stand in their way. Each victory, no matter how small, was a testament to humanity's resilience. Each defeat was a lesson, something to be learned from, something to be used to fuel the next push forward. The coalition might have believed they could decide who was worthy of the stars, but humanity had already decided the stars were theirs, and they would fight to prove it. And as the galaxy watched, witnessing the fire in humanity's eyes, they began to see something they hadn't expected: the humans weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for a future. For their future. And they would not stop. The conflict continued to unfold, a cosmic dance between the mighty coalition and the relentless human spirit. Every battle, whether on the edge of known space or within the labyrinthine depths of forgotten star systems, became a testament to the ingenuity and determination of humanity. The coalition races, with their millennia of wisdom and superior technology, had never faced an adversary quite like this. They had underestimated humanity, and with each passing day, that mistake became more apparent. Despite their advanced technology, the coalition races found themselves at a disadvantage. Humanity's unpredictability was their greatest weapon. While the alien species adhered to their carefully calculated strategies, humanity responded with creativity, resourcefulness, and a boldness that caught their adversaries off guard. The humans would strike from unexpected angles, use unconventional tactics, and push the boundaries of their technology to develop new, often unforeseen capabilities. It wasn't just technology that the coalition couldn't comprehend, it was the nature of humanity itself. They could not understand how a species that had risen from a chaotic, war-torn planet, so young in the grand scheme of the universe, could exhibit such unyielding resolve. The humans were outnumbered, their resources limited, and yet they never stopped fighting. Each setback only made them more determined, and each success only fueled their desire to push farther. As the war raged on, humanity's position became stronger. Their alliance of colonies, once disparate and isolated, had now become a force to be reckoned with. Mars, the moon of Titan, and the colonies on Europa were no longer simply outposts, they were vital parts of the human war machine, all working together toward a singular goal: to prove that humanity's place in the galaxy was earned, not given. The coalition tried everything in their power to suppress the human rebellion. They launched full-scale attacks on Earth, the birthplace of humanity's Defiance, in an effort to break their spirit. But no matter how many cities were destroyed, how many fleets were sent into orbit to strike at the heart of their civilization, humanity's resolve only grew stronger. Earth itself, the cradle of their species, became a symbol of defiance, a beacon for all who wished to see that even the most powerful empires could be challenged by the smallest and most determined of races. Humanity's ingenuity continued to turn the tide. They hacked into the coalition's communications networks, sowing confusion within their ranks. They developed new technologies that exploited the weaknesses in the coalition's military hardware, using tactics that even the most advanced races hadn't anticipated. The most significant breakthrough came in the form of a weapon unlike anything seen before: a multi-phase, adaptive energy disruptor capable of temporarily destabilizing the very quantum fields that the coalition races relied on for their energy-based technologies. It was a game-changer. But more than that, humanity's greatest strength was the unity they had forged. Despite their differences, cultural, political, and ideological humans had come together in a way no one had thought possible. The colonies that once operated independently now shared resources, intelligence, and technology in ways that created a truly united front. The coalition might have tried to divide them, but humanity had learned to stand together. Despite the initial belief that humanity's fire would burn out quickly, the coalition soon realized that their greatest error wasn't in underestimating human technology, but in underestimating human belief. The will of humanity wasn't just something that could be measured in ships or weapons, it was something deeper, something intangible, woven into the very fabric of their identity. It was the belief that they belonged to the stars, that they had earned their place in the vastness of space. And so, humanity continued to push forward, gaining ground where once they had been pushed back. The battles became more intense as the coalition races, unable to halt the human advance, began to lash out with all the power at their disposal. Entire systems were razed, whole starbases destroyed, but humanity's will never faltered. The conflict had become something more than a war, it had become a struggle for the soul of the galaxy itself. And then came the turning point. In the heart of a long-forgotten region of space, a secret meeting was held between the leaders of the human colonies. They knew the war could not go on forever. Humanity had proven their worth, but the cost had been steep, and there was still a long way to go. They had learned the tactics, and they had developed the technology, but they knew they needed to find a way to bring the galaxy's fractured species together once and for all. The solution lay not in further destruction, but in the very thing the coalition had feared from the beginning: unity. Humanity, despite all their victories, had never truly considered themselves conquerors. They had fought because they were told they didn't belong, that they weren't worthy of the stars. But now, as the dust settled, it became clear that the next battle would not be won with weapons alone. The galaxy had seen humanity's strength, their defiance, their refusal to yield. What it had yet to see was their ability to lead, to bring peace out of chaos. A bold proposal was put forward, a summit. The human colonies, in cooperation with their alien allies, would extend an olive branch to the coalition. They would offer the opportunity to join a new intergalactic council, one that would not be defined by superiority or subjugation, but by shared goals and mutual respect. A galaxy united, not under the rule of one race, but in cooperation, built on the foundation of understanding rather than domination. The coalition, after much deliberation, agreed. They were reluctant, skeptical, but the tide had turned. Humanity's strength was undeniable. And now, in a moment of unprecedented unity, they would stand together with their former enemies not as conquerors, but as equals. The stars were never theirs. But humanity, in all its brilliance, had proven that they belonged among them, not by birthright, but by their resolve. The summit, held on a neutral world located at the edges of the galaxy, became the defining moment in humanity's journey among the stars. Representatives from each of the powerful coalition races gathered, their massive ships filling the orbital space like silent watchers over a world still scarred by the battles that had raged across the galaxy. Earth's emissaries, along with the leaders of the human colonies, stood side by side, ready to face the challenge that awaited them. It wasn't just a meeting of minds, it was a test. A test to see if humanity's fiery resolve could be tempered by diplomacy, if their need for independence and freedom could be balanced by the necessity of cooperation. The coalition's leaders had reluctantly agreed to the summit, but no one expected it to be a simple negotiation. Tensions were high, distrust palpable, and yet, there was a sense that this was the galaxy's last chance for peace. The first moments of the summit were tense, as each representative took their seat, their eyes wary and calculating. The leaders of the coalition, from the ancient and wise Aetheres to the cold, calculating Cylon, exchanged glances, knowing that the outcome of this summit would determine the future of their civilizations. Humanity's leaders, resolute but cautious, sat quietly, aware that their very presence had forced these powerful beings to reconsider their long-held assumptions. The first words came from the Aetheres, their telepathic communication reverberating through the room like a ripple in the air, bending the thoughts of all who were present. Humanity's defiance has been noted. Your strength has been proven. But can you maintain peace? Can you rise above your impulsive nature and create something lasting among the stars? The response came not from the humans, but from one of the more unexpected sources, a leader of the Zarvik, a race known for its advanced temporal manipulation and philosophical nature. Humans have shown us that they are not simply children of chaos, she said, her voice echoing with authority. They have the power to adapt, to learn from their mistakes, and to rise above their limitations. What they lack in ancient wisdom, they make up for with a conviction that we cannot ignore. The coalition representatives exchanged uneasy glances. The Zarvik were known for their precision in thinking, their methodical ways, but they too had seen the potential in humanity. Their words were a shift, a crack in the coalition's unified stance. Humanity's delegation remained silent for a moment. No one spoke for a long while, but when the humans did respond, it was the voice of Commander Lena Klein, a leader who had guided the colonies through their darkest hours, who spoke first. "We never asked for your permission to explore the stars," she began, her voice steady and unwavering. "But we fought for our right to do so. We fought not just for survival, but for the future. For the chance to contribute, to share what we've learned, and to stand side by side with the other species of this galaxy. We may have been reckless, but we've also proven that we can evolve. We've shown you that we don't just take, we give. We create. We learn. And we fight, not for conquest, but for the chance to make something better." There was a long pause. The room fell into a heavy silence as her words lingered in the air. For the first time, the coalition races considered the humans in a new light. Not as a threat, nor as a species that needed to be controlled or suppressed, but as a partner. And then the silence spoke, their collective voice rising from the chorus of their hive mind. "You speak of creation," they said, their voices simultaneously harmonious and chilling. "We have watched your species. Your creations, your machines, your art, your innovations are unlike anything we have encountered. You are a species driven not just by survival, but by the desire to leave a mark on the universe. Perhaps it is time to consider if your mark is one that we should bear together, rather than in opposition." The leaders of the coalition, slowly, cautiously, began to murmur among themselves. The tone of the summit had shifted. The foundation of their long-held beliefs was beginning to crack. If humanity could truly adapt and contribute to the galaxy without their reckless tendencies leading them to ruin, then perhaps the fear that had driven the coalition's isolationist stance was misplaced. It was the Aetheri who spoke next, their ancient voice heavy with the weight of millennia. "We have watched you, humanity, and we have seen your capacity for growth. You are not like the others we have known. Your fragility, your unpredictable nature, it is not a weakness. It is your strength. But we have seen your violence, your wars. If you are to be part of this galaxy's future, then you must show us that your hunger for independence does not turn into a hunger for control." The humans, their leaders gathered together, understood the magnitude of what was being asked of them. It wasn't just about laying down arms, it was about proving they could coexist, share in the galaxy's destiny, and not let their ambition spiral into dominance. They had already proven they could survive. Now, they had to prove they could build something lasting with the very beings who had once thought them unworthy. Lena Klein stood and addressed the council, her voice filled with conviction. "We know we are not perfect," she said, "but we are willing to work for it. Humanity has always fought for what it believes in, and we believe in a future where the stars are a place for all, where differences don't divide us, but make us stronger. If you give us the chance, we will show you what it means to forge a new beginning not just for humans, but for every race in the galaxy." There was no immediate answer, but the atmosphere had changed. The walls of fear and suspicion began to crumble. For the first time, the coalition races began to consider that humanity might indeed have a place in the galaxy not as a threat, but as a force for progress, for unity, and for peace. And so, the summit continued, not as a war of words or ideologies, but as the first steps toward an uncertain, but hopeful, future. The stars, once a symbol of humanity's struggle for survival, now seemed like a canvas upon which they could paint their legacy not through domination, but through cooperation. And in that moment, humanity understood something fundamental. The stars were never theirs, but they were willing to prove that they belonged among them, not through might, but through the power of their will to build something greater than themselves. The summit continued for weeks, the discussions becoming increasingly complex as both sides navigated the delicate balance of diplomacy and pragmatism. The coalition, despite their initial reluctance, began to soften. There was a growing recognition among the delegates. Some whispered it was even a quiet respect that humanity had something unique. They were not bound by the ancient, unyielding traditions of the coalition's races. They were raw, volatile, and yet driven by an insatiable need to create and evolve. The talks had begun to shape a framework for a new intergalactic council, a council where every species could voice their concerns, contribute their knowledge, and, above all, work together to ensure the prosperity of the galaxy. It was a monumental task, and the path was fraught with obstacles. Old grudges ran deep, and the scars of war were still fresh. Some races, especially the Aetheri, held firm to their belief in the importance of balance, believing that too much influence from any one species would upset the natural order. Others, like the Cylon, struggled with the idea of cooperation without control. The humans, for their part, understood the delicate nature of this new venture. They were not there to dominate. They had fought, bled, and sacrificed not to conquer, but to prove they could stand alongside the galaxy's great civilizations. But in the quiet moments of the summit, it became clear to their leaders, the greatest challenge would not be convincing the coalition to accept them, it would be convincing humanity itself that they could lead, without becoming the very thing they had fought against. Lena Klein, as the de facto leader of the human delegation, spent hours in personal discussions with her fellow humans. They were united in purpose, but doubt still lingered. "Are we ready for this?" Lena had asked in one such private meeting. To not just stand beside them, but to work with them, to build something lasting? Her trusted advisor, Dr. Ryo Nakamura, the brilliant scientist who had played a key role in developing the human technologies that had turned the tide of the war, shook his head thoughtfully. "We've been fighting for survival, for a place in the stars. But I wonder, Lena, are we prepared for the responsibility of leading? We're not just joining the galaxy's powers. We're shaping its future. That's a different kind of challenge." Lena had thought long and hard about that. The war had been about survival, about proving they were worthy. But now, the stakes were different. It was no longer about fighting for a seat at the table, it was about earning the trust of those already sitting there. It was about leadership. The council convened again, this time to begin the process of drafting the Galactic Treaty. The discussions were fierce, but there was a new sense of purpose in the air. As the humans presented their vision for the future, one where diversity in technology, culture, and ideology could be celebrated, rather than feared, the delegates began to listen, genuinely listen. There were arguments. The Aetheri insisted on a system that would place their vast knowledge at the center, guiding the council with their ancient wisdom. The Cylon, ever calculating, sought a framework where logic and data-driven decisions would be prioritized, and the Zarvik wanted a model that would account for time manipulation, in case future events required an adjustment of the timeline itself. The tension between these factions was palpable, and the humans knew it would take more than simple negotiation to convince them to compromise. It was a late night when Lena received a message, a hologram from the outer colonies. The voice was familiar, one she had heard through all the years of war and survival. It was General Isaac Carter, the leader of the Earth's most elite military force. His message was simple, direct, and it struck at the core of what the humans were now facing. "Commander," the hologram began, his voice steady but worn. "We've been through hell to get here, and we've fought with everything we've had to prove we belong. But now we're standing at the precipice of something new. We've been given an opportunity not to fight for survival, but to build. You've got to remind everyone what we're capable of. What we can do together. But don't let them forget this, we don't just want to join them. We want to lead not by force, but by example. You've seen what we can do when we come together, Lena. You've seen it more than anyone." The words hit her hard, and for the first time since the summit had begun, Lena felt a clarity she hadn't known before. It wasn't about whether humanity had earned their place, it was about what they would do once they had it. They had already demonstrated they could survive. They had already fought battles and won victories. But this was something else entirely. This was about showing the galaxy that humanity wasn't simply a force to be feared, they were a force to be embraced, to lead not with dominance but with vision and hope for a new future. And so, with renewed determination, Lena returned to the summit. She addressed the council once more, her voice steady, carrying the weight of humanity's resolve. We fought to survive. We fought to prove that we belonged in the stars. But that's not enough anymore. Now, we fight for the future, for a galaxy where all of us, no matter our origin, our age, or our technology, can contribute to something greater than ourselves. We will not lead through fear, and we will not submit to the old ways of power. But we will lead through unity, through innovation, and through the belief that we can create a better tomorrow. Not for one species, but for all of us. Her words echoed across the summit chamber, and for the first time, there was no rebuttal. The alien delegates remained silent, but there was no hostility in their silence. Instead, there was contemplation. They had seen humanity fight, they had seen humanity struggle and sacrifice, and they had witnessed the very essence of human strength, the ability to adapt, to grow, and to create. The path forward was still uncertain, fraught with challenges and disagreements. But humanity had won something more important than a mere seat at the council. They had won the respect of those who once sought to silence them. The stars were still not theirs by birthright. But humanity had earned them in a way no one had anticipated. They had forged their future, and they would build it together with the galaxy on their terms, and in the spirit of cooperation, unity, and hope. The fight had been hard, but now, humanity faced a future where the stars were open to them not because of conquest, but because of what they could offer, leadership through example, and the power to change the universe, one decision at a time. The galaxy, once divided, now stood at the threshold of something new. And humanity would be there to guide it into the unknown future.